I just finished my last delivery and was walking home. The street was deserted, silent in an eerie way. As I stepped into alley 12, I felt like someone was following me. I turned around, no one. I picked up my pace, but so did the footsteps. Then suddenly I turned back again, and I swear someone was standing right behind me dressed just like me, but they had no face, just a dark, hollow void. This happened a few months ago. I work part-time for a food delivery app in Manchester. Most of my shifts are at night. It's when orders are high and competition is low. That night, my last delivery ended around 12:30 a.m. I locked my bike and started walking home. Alley 12 is a shortcut. Normally, I stick to the main road, but I was tired and wanted to get home quicker. The alley was dimly lit, half the streetlights weren't working. The air felt unnaturally still, thick with moisture, like rain was about to fall, but there were no clouds. As I walked, I began to hear soft footsteps behind me. I stopped. They stopped. I turned around. Nothing. I told myself, "You're just exhausted. Ignore it." But the moment I began walking again, the footsteps returned, perfectly timed with mine, as if someone was mimicking me. I told my roommate Sajid about it the next morning. He laughed and said, "Man, you've been watching too many horror films. You're just sleep deprived." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But the next night I had another late shift, and again I had to pass through alley 12. This time I hit record on my phone before entering the alley. I walked silently, trying not to panic. Halfway through, I heard the footsteps again. When I stopped to play the recording, my hands went cold. In the audio, there were clearly two sets of footsteps, mine and someone else's, walking in perfect sync with me. Now I was scared, but I was also determined. If something was there, I needed to see it with my own eyes. So the next night, I walked to the alley again, this time ready. I found a corner to hide behind and waited, heart pounding. After a minute or two, I heard them again, soft, steady footsteps. But it wasn't just sound, it felt like they were echoing inside my skull. I peeked from behind the wall and my eyes widened. There was someone walking. Same height, same build, same clothes as me. But no face, just smooth black skin, like ink. And his hands, they weren't straight, they were twisted, coiled, like broken bones or long snakes. I froze, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Then, it stopped, turned toward me, and vanished. I couldn't sleep. The next morning I searched online for ghost sightings in Manchester. Several forums, Reddit threads, and archived news articles kept pointing to the same place. Alley 12. Turns out, over the past decade, 3 people had mysteriously died in that same alley. All of them were last seen alone, walking home around 1 a.m. All were described as following someone who looked just like them. One post read, "Don't follow your own shadow. If it follows you, run. If you stop, it becomes you." That night, I swore I'd never walk through that alley again. But whatever it was, it didn't stay in the alley. I started hearing whispers in my room. My phone rang randomly at 1 a.m., but the number always showed as 0000000. Whenever I answered, a distorted voice would whisper, "Why did you leave me alone?" I had had enough. One night, I returned to the alley, but this time, I was prepared. I brought my Quran, my camera, and a flashlight. I stood in the middle of the alley and shouted, "Whoever you are, show yourself. Let's end this." The wind stopped. The air turned heavy. A shadow began to form at the far end of the alley. Slowly, steadily, it walked toward me. My hands were shaking. My breath turned shallow. It came just a foot away. Then it spoke, for the first time. "You already are me." And everything went black. Now, since that night, the shadow hasn't left me. Sometimes I see it in the mirror. Sometimes in my own reflection. Sajid says I've changed. My eyes look darker, my voice colder, and I just smile. Because Sajid, he came home late last night too, and I saw him walk through alley 12. I was out for a walk at night. Instead of the main road, I turned into a narrow side alley. That's when I saw her. A little girl standing all alone. She wore a white frock and kept her head down. I asked gently, "Are you here all by yourself?" She replied softly, "My mother is coming to get me. She's coming from the grave." I took a step back, and as I turned toward the lighted street, the girl lifted her face, and where her eyes should have been, there were only dark, hollow pits. Kujdes Lisa. I'm just an ordinary housewife living in Quezon City, Philippines. My husband works in Dubai, so I live alone. Life had fallen into a quiet routine. I often went out for a walk after dinner, usually sticking to the well-lit main roads. But that night, something pulled me toward a narrow alley. It was unusually silent, not even the barking of street dogs. There, under a broken streetlight, I saw her. A small girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing still in a white dress. I approached her cautiously and asked, "Sweetie, are you lost? Where's your home?" She whispered, almost without moving her lips, "My mother is coming. She's coming to get me. From the grave." Chills ran down my spine. I took a shaky step back. She slowly raised her face, and I saw the void where her eyes should have been. Just 2 dark, endless holes. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, her hollow stare returned. The next morning, I told my neighbor, Auntie Maria. She's an elderly, deeply religious woman. When I described the girl, Auntie Maria's face turned pale. She said, "That child is not human. Years ago, a little girl went missing from this area. Her body was never found. People say she still wanders at night, waiting for her mother." I didn't know whether to believe her or not, but I felt that fear again, the kind that grips your bones. A few nights later, I got a phone call at exactly 2 a.m. The number was unknown. I thought it was a scam, but something told me to answer. I did, and at first it was completely silent. Then, I heard a faint little voice say, "She's coming tonight. My mother. You should come too." I dropped the phone. The moment it hit the floor, I began hearing soft whispers, not from the phone, but all around me. I started researching. In an old library archive, I found a newspaper clipping from 2007. A little girl named Clara Mendoza had gone missing. Her mother was found dead, an apparent suicide. The article said the mother had overdosed, leaving a note behind. Some claim she killed her daughter first, then herself, but the girl's body was never found. Over the years, multiple locals reported seeing a girl in white, asking strangers, "Have you seen my mother?" A few nights later, I resumed my walks, hoping to shake it all off. But something was different. I felt like I wasn't alone. When I walked under the streetlights, I noticed something terrifying. 2 shadows. One was mine. The other, much smaller, child-sized, and not aligned with mine. I pulled out my phone and took a video. When I checked it, that second shadow stopped and turned to look directly at the camera. That same day, I found an old, dusty silver locket placed neatly on my doorstep. As soon as I touched it, my mind was flooded with disturbing flashes. A little girl screaming, a shattered mirror, a woman's voice crying, and a door painted with blood-red letters that read, "Do not open, she is awake now." I immediately threw the locket into a bucket of water, but the next morning, it was under my pillow. One night, I went to the bathroom half asleep. In the mirror behind my reflection stood the girl, Clara. Her white frock was stained, her hair dripped wet, her face pale, and her eyes still missing. She whispered, "Mommy says you'll be my new friend." I turned around in horror. No one was there. But the mirror had cracked, as if something had slammed into it. That same night, I had a strange dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream at all. I was inside an old dusty house. Every door was locked. And then I heard her calling, "Lisa, come play with me." I found myself opening a door slowly. Inside, pitch black. She ran toward me, her arms wide, and screamed, "You promised you'd be my mother!" I woke up gasping, and there she was, sitting at the edge of my bed, smiling. "You can't leave now." I moved out of that neighborhood. I don't walk alone anymore, not even in daylight. But some nights, there's a soft knock on my door, and a voice that whispers, "Lisa, aren't you my mommy now?" I often go out at night looking for new photo spots. That night, I found myself in a deserted suburban area, a narrow road leading into the woods. There was a signboard that read, "Road ends here." I ignored it and kept walking. But not long after, I started feeling like something, or someone, was hiding behind every tree. Then my camera started flashing on its own, like it was taking pictures without me touching it. When I checked the gallery, in every photo, someone was standing behind me. But there had been no one there. Hoa. My name is Taimur. I'm originally from Pakistan, but have been living in Glasgow for the last 3 years. I work as a freelance photographer, and my specialty is abandoned places. Old buildings, empty paths, forgotten streets. And most of the time, I shoot at night. Less people, more shadows, better drama. That night was no different. I had heard about a strange, unmarked road up in the northern suburbs of Glasgow, once a railway path, now lost under overgrown trees. Google Maps showed it as Old Ruther Way, but strangely, it didn't appear clearly on any modern navigation tools. So around 12:40 a.m., I packed up my DSLR, tripod, and floodlight and headed there. Hoa. At the edge of the road was an old, rusted sign. The paint had faded, but the words still read, "Road ends here. Do not cross after dark. Hoa." I chuckled. "Another local legend," I whispered, and walked straight in. Hoa. The road was silent, too silent. No wind, no insects, no rustling leaves, just a void. I took my first shot, a massive crooked tree hanging over the path. When I checked the LCD, there was a shadow behind me, barely visible, but tall, elongated. I turned around. Nothing. Maybe it was a lens flare. I took another shot, the shadow again, closer. Hoa. As I kept walking, the path narrowed. The road eventually cracked and disappeared into the forest. It felt like walking into another world. Hoa. Then, I saw something. Between the trees, just beyond the bushes, a figure moved. I shone my flashlight. Nothing. But when I turned it off, movement again. I started clicking photos every few steps. Flash, walk, flash again. I wasn't just documenting now. I was trying to see something my eyes couldn't catch, but the camera could. Hoa. Suddenly, my DSLR started clicking by itself. I hadn't touched the shutter, but every few seconds, click, another photo. Hoa. Confused, I opened the gallery. Every new photo, the same shadow. In each frame, it was moving closer. Hoa. Headless, faceless, just a black shape, unaffected by the flash. It looked like smoke frozen in a man's form. Hoa. Then came the final picture. It was right behind me. I turned around with a jolt. No one. But the air smelled rotten, like burnt hair and wet soil. Back home, I couldn't sleep. I started researching Old Ruther Way. Buried in an old article from 1996 was a report. A young photographer, Simon Clark, found dead near the woods. His camera contained 12 final images. Each photo showed a dark shadow moving closer until it reached him. The killer was never found. My hands trembled. Simon had died, doing exactly what I had just done. The next few days, strange things started happening. Whenever I looked in the mirror, something else was behind me. Sometimes it was subtle, a blur. Other times, clear, a shape standing inches away. In one photo I took of a building's window, a reflection was staring back at me. But it wasn't me. I had to know the truth. So I returned to Old Ruther Way, armed with a GoPro and a voice recorder. The signboard had changed. Now smeared across it in something red were the words, "You are part of the photo now." I turned on the recorder. Instead of my own footsteps, I heard whispers. And then, my own voice repeated back to me, "Don't look behind." Later, I watched the GoPro footage. I was walking down the road, visibly scared. But behind me, something followed. A long, human-like shadow. It moved in silence, then stopped and looked directly at the camera. Then it whispered, "You are no longer the photographer. You are the subject now." The screen went static. The camera shut off on its own. Since that night, I've changed. People say my voice is different. My eyes seem distant, and I keep seeing things. On my skin, faint scratch marks appear at night, gone by morning. And the worst part? One day I opened that same camera again. There were no photos of me. Just one image, a shadow, standing exactly where I stood, looking into the lens. I don't go back there anymore, but those who do, they don't return. Some say if you take a picture on Old Ruther Way, you become part of the photo. Not your body, but your soul. And me, I no longer hold the camera, because now I am the photo.